Well, good morning, you guys. Crystal here from Homemaking on the Homestead, and today I'm going to do another coffee with Crystal and just share a few updates here and there and do a little chat with you. And tell you what's going on in my kitchen, too. So I always like to let everybody know before the video begins that Coffee with Crystal is a chatty type video. I like to think about it as you all sitting on the other side of that computer screen, with your cup of coffee, having coffee with me. It's kind of a virtual, ladies come in and sit around my kitchen table and let's have a talk type of a video. And I always show you what I've got going. I always talk about some little topic that just comes to my mind, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I woke up this morning and got all my daily to-dos done and thought, what direction do I want to go? I had a few things on my list and decided in the end I would make some muffins for the freezer. So if you ever want really fast muffins, then I recommend blender muffins. They are so easy to put together. But I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but let me show you what I got going on. I am working on making some blender muffins this morning. I have my first batch is going to be pumpkin oat muffins, and I have made this recipe a few times. You can use any kind of fruit puree, but I had this can of pumpkin sitting on my pantry shelf, and one of you guys mentioned in a comment about making pumpkin muffins, and so that got me inspired. So yeah, pumpkin muffins are going to be my first one. And over here I have some black beans cooking in my Instant Pot because it's actually a very delicious recipe. It is black bean chocolate muffins, and they are so good. You would never know there's black beans in them. They just taste kind of fudgy and sweet and very good. So I will be doing those after the beans cook and after I get this first batch done. I started making blender muffins a couple years ago. I had been able to get a Vitamix, and like I said before, they're just so simple. You just throw everything in the blender and then pour them into the muffin pans and put them in the oven. Easy peasy. I was going to try to get them going before I actually started this video, but it seems like I've had one interruption after another and finally decided, you know what, I'm going to start by sitting down and chat with you, and then I will probably get on with the muffins. But updates. Oh, I want to show you something, so hold on. Ta-da! My finished baby blanket. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but I finally got this done, and I'm so happy. It turned out so pretty and nice. I can't wait to give it to my little grandson. So yes, that means we haven't gone to California yet. I keep talking to my daughter on the phone, and she's like, no problem, Mom. Everything's good here. But I still would like to. So because we felt like we would be going back in February after baby was born, we had some, I would say, obligations sound too harsh. We had made promises to my father-in-law to come and help him with a few things. So we had to do that last week. One of my kids needed some help, and I had already promised we would be there to help him with that. And now we have another promise we made to somebody, and we need to keep that. In the meantime, my husband has been doing some updates on our van so that we can travel in it. We did last year, and that's a whole nother video I can share with you at some point in the future. But anyway, so he's been working like crazy to get these updates in the van done. So, because we like to sleep in our van and we can make stops along the way and things like that. And it just makes for a more enjoyable trip for us. And that's kind of what we're planning to do. So we need to also wait for him to finish those updates so that we can have our van ready to go again. And then I told her, we'll be there. However, this is the most, I just have to say amusing at this point because I don't know any other way to look at it. But So I have another grandbaby due. Yes. So my daughter that lives with us is due to have a baby in April. Not till about the middle to towards the end of April. So, my daughter said, well, Mom, you might just want to wait till after she has her baby so that you could be there, to help her out, because her midwife is like over an hour away and she has her babies at home. And I was just like, oh, okay. I'm hoping that we can get the trip to see her in there well before my daughter is, on my radar. So I don't know. We'll just see. The Lord knows, right? We will just let it happen as it's going to happen. So dinner tonight for us is leftovers. I made pizza. If you saw my video, which probably would have been my last video on meals that I'm trying to use up things, mostly shelf-stable pantry things, but I also had a few things in the freezer. So one of those was a pizza crust that I had back in January. The recipe made two, so I had split it up and put the other one in the freezer. So I wanted to use that up. I don't like those kind of things sitting in the freezer too long. And so we had pizza last night, and we still have pizza left over and salad left over. And I know I've shared in other Coffee with Crystal that I like to take days where I don't have a lot of kitchen work to do and put my attention towards something else, like the muffins today. So those are all going to go in the freezer. I just always like to keep my freezer full of easy grab breakfast snacks, treats if we're traveling or anything like that. So I figure, hey, let's get that done today. So in all my waiting to go down and see my daughter and my new grandson and my other grandboys, it's taken a lot of patience. And I just thought, hey, that's a great topic to talk about. Patience is something that we all need, something that we often all fall short of, and I just wanted to bring out a few highlights, tell a cute little story, and some ideas and steps on how do we cultivate and develop more patience. Whenever I am interested in doing any kind of look into a particular word, the first thing I always do and go and find a definition for that word. So patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. I think that was the Webster's. I don't know. I just put the notes on my phone. And then I wanted to share the verse from Galatians 5:22 and 23, which is the New American Standard Version. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. So we know that patience is an important part of developing and cultivating that fruit of the Spirit. I also found it interesting. I don't usually use the New American Standard Bible. I either use the NIV or the New King James Version. So when I looked that verse up, other words for patience in the King James Version was long-suffering. In the NIV version, it was forbearance. The New King James Version also used long-suffering. So, and those are I just found that interesting. So long-suffering and forbearance sometimes is, what we're trying to cultivate here in order to be a more patient person. I also thought about it in terms of the fact that patience can maybe have different meanings. So, not different situations. So I divide them into two categories. One type of need for patience is the immediate. You're dealing with a very stressful situation. So that could be, if you have young children, that could be the kids, being crazy and out of control. Maybe you're dealing with a coworker. Maybe you are in traffic and you're dealing with a stressful situation that needs, you just need some patience to deal with it. And the other type is more of a long-term look at patience. Like maybe you need a bigger house. Maybe you need a new car, or, something that you have to wait for. Something that you have to just be patient and wait until the timing is right and that it is something that you can accomplish. So those are the two categories. I think they're very different. So I wrote down in my mind some steps that, what do we do when we are feeling like we are losing our patience? I think if you're in an immediate situation that, is requiring you to be patient and you feel like you're kind of losing it, then the first thing that I think you need to do in that type of a situation is just breathe. Take a deep breath and stop and just pause. I think that we have to let ourselves not be rash to speak something. Okay, so then that got me thinking about this verse from James 1:9. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. So that pause and that breath that you are going to take, my Instant Pot is done, that is your moment to stop and just say, okay, I'm not going to be slow to speak, be slow to anger. Okay, let me tell you a really cute, I think it's a cute story, but patience. We all know that patience comes over time, and it comes from experience, and it comes from practicing patience. One thing about having had 8 children, I've had plenty of opportunity for all of that. There have been times, of course, in my life I have not been the most patient person, and yet I learned from that to be able to how to handle situations in a patient way. So one of my daughters was a nanny to a set of twins. She brought them up to the house, which she would do often. They just lived down the road from us. And so she would often bring them up to the house. And so she brought them up to the house. She needed to get something out of her room. And I was in the kitchen. And the boys were being little boys, being 3-year-old little boys. They were roughhousing and they were playing in the living room. And all of a sudden I hear this big thud, and I go running out from the kitchen into my living room. My daughter comes down the stairs, and we both enter the living room at about the same time. And my daughter just was like, and what had happened is that the boys had been playing on my recliner, and they had been going back and forth with it to the point that it knocked it over backwards. So before my daughter could say anything, I looked at the boys and I was like, boys, what on earth are you doing? And just that tone of voice, didn't raise my voice at them at all. And then proceeded to tell them about, that type of stuff we say for being outside. We don't do that in the house. We take care and respect the house, all those types of things. So after it was done and the boys had gone outside to play, my daughter just said to me, Mom, how are you so patient? Because she was about to lose it. You'd seen what they had done, only while she'd been gone maybe 5 minutes or less. And I said, practice. Anyway, I thought it was kind of a cute story of, just realizing that patience is something that will come over time, as long as we're actively cultivating a spirit of patience and a spirit of, wanting to change and wanting to be a more patient person. But I think in those situations where something happens and you're about to, just let off some, frustration, that's the moment, like I said, to breathe, to stop, reflect, say a prayer, and, just ask God for the wisdom of the best way to deal with that situation in that moment. I find that once we let the moment settle down, we often are not as likely to fly off the handle when we react. And then for the long-term type of patience, you're waiting for something that you hope to happen down the road, or you would like to happen, or maybe you need to happen down the road. It isn't happening now, and how do we cultivate patience for that? I think that can be found in Romans 12:12. Rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer. It's an exercise at that moment for us to learn how to wait on the Lord, because a lot of patience is simply waiting. And when we wait on the Lord, and He will answer that, and we will gain more patience as we walk through that process with Him. And I love how the patience is so intertwined with all the other fruit of the Spirit, the love, the joy, the peace. I think that we can see that our reaction needs to be a reflection of all of that. You know, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, all of those things are so important when we are in a situation that requires patience. And the other thing too is because none of us are perfect, and we will all have moments where we just, you know, lose it. But to use that as a learning stepping stool. This is what I did wrong, and this is what I need to do next time when this happens, and to give ourselves grace. Also, other people may not be patient, and other people may be saying things that are not kind and that are, not that nice. And I think we need to also give other people grace. We don't know sometimes what other people are dealing with. We don't know what triggers somebody else and why they may have reacted the way they reacted. Traffic, I mean, that's a great one. Bad day at work. This goes wrong. That goes wrong. And the next thing you know, that person is cutting people off and doing rude things while you're driving. But you don't really know. The best thing to do is just kind of back off and, just give grace. Those are some of my thoughts on patience this morning, and a couple of my little stories to share with you. If you have any tips, advice, or thoughts on patience, or what have you done to deal with impatient situations in your life, or is it something you're working on right now? I think we all probably are working on it to some degree, right? I would love to hear in the comments, so please leave me a comment. Let me know what you're having for dinner. Any kind of chatty things. And I hope you have enjoyed having your cup of coffee this morning with me, if that's what you're doing and when you're watching it. I know I certainly have enjoyed having mine with you. I hope you all have an amazing week ahead. And don't forget the like button, subscribe if you haven't and you like my content. I really appreciate you all so much. You have no idea. All right, I'll see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.